Hi, I'm Clint Baker with Sherwin-Williams here at the Reno Training Center. And what we're going to do today is look at our FormulaExpress color retrieval system and learn about all the different color tools available to help us choose the correct color formula. This is our FormulaExpress color retrieval system. You'll notice that it has three different boxes available for entering information. The OEM color code information for the top box, a formula number if you've got it from a previous mix, and color chip number, which would be the number directly off of our Prospector color chip tool. Today what we're going to do is enter 382E into our OEM information box and select Go. What that will do is take us to the manufacturer page. In our particular example today, we're going to be working on a Cadillac Escalade. I'm going to select 382 behind that vehicle. Where that takes us to now is the Graph ID position page. The first thing we notice is that we have a lot of choices available for different alternate colors based upon their Graph ID position. The first thing we should do is go to our color chip location and see which one of these colors most closely matches our car. So by selecting on color chip location and enlarging the page, what you'll notice is within our Graph ID position, we've got choices available, and they list by the chip source and the chip number. In this particular example, it's color chip number 7206, and the standard is found on chip number 4160. We would want to take that chip outside in natural daylight and evaluate that chip in comparison to our car, both from the face and the flop, looking straight on and from the side angle, if you will, and decide which one of these most closely matches our car to help us select the correct alternate color. Once we've got our information from evaluating this color chip outside of the daylight, we noticed that in our example today, we said that our car was darker and cleaner on the face, but had a slightly lighter side tone or flop. As we look through this, we'll notice that that information is shared once again on Graph ID position letter C. This information is very important. Under our face, by listing dark and clean, it's listed in the sequence of most obvious. Most obviously, this particular color is darker, and yes, it is slightly more saturated or clean. There also could be a third descriptor also listed. In this particular case, it's not. The only thing we need to worry about today is the fact that it's darker and cleaner. On the side tone or flop, also it's listed in the sequence of importance, but on this particular color we chose, the only thing that's different between the alternate Graph ID position A and the standard is that we're lighter. If we take that information and evaluate it even further, we could use the messages box to determine if it fits that particular vehicle and the year that it's manufactured. That's done by looking at the 10th and 11th digit on the vehicle identification number, or the VIN number, and seeing what letters or numbers are denoted. You can then see that it could possibly be verified to that. That information can also be used to help us build the case towards selecting the most accurate color to put on our car. Continuing down on FormulaExpress, we'll notice some more information. There's two separate boxes listed here. What they are is evaluation of the color from the face and from the flop on these graphs. The graphs listed are the lightness, saturation, and hue graphs. In this particular case, we said that our car needed to be lighter on the face and cleaner or more saturated. And in comparison of our alternates A and C, we'll notice that alternate A is definitely darker than the standard on the face and much darker with alternate graph ID position C. Within the saturation, you'll see that also both A and C are more saturated, just as we needed, but they're so close together that I wouldn't say you can identify the difference in the two. Hue isn't even a consideration on our color chosen today because it wasn't listed as a color descriptor earlier in the color that we chose. Over here on the flop, the same graphs are represented, but in this case it is evaluation of the side tones. So there again, the only thing we were concerned with is in comparison to our standard graph ID position, that A and C be lighter. And in this case, they're both very close or similar in lightness in comparison to our standard, so that would not help us build a case for which one would be better. The lesson learned from this entire example today is this. In review, from the flop, the lightness is very similar. The saturation, reviewing the face, are very similar. The most obvious difference is that alternate A, yes, in case is darker than standard, but C is much darker. And that is what's going to help us decide which one of these colors would be a better choice. As we look at the bottom of this FormulaExpress information, we'll also notice one last bit of information. These are past mixed history graphs. In this particular example, you'll notice that our standard graph has got the most history. Actually, over 70% of the time that's been chosen. That will happen most of the time based on the fact that most people mixing a color will choose the standard to start with, whether it be in a store or in a shop. As you look across these alternate choices, you'll notice that alternate B actually has the most history. That's good information to know perhaps, but it should never be the case of using that information to choose your alternate solely based on that. In this case where alternate B has got 13% of the time mixed, there's nothing that builds a case for that to say it matches our card today. In fact, alternate F, which only has 1% mix history, could truly be a better color choice for what we need today, and it wouldn't tell us on this graph. Just use this information as another source to help build your color history without using it as your primary source. So to review what we've learned today, we learned more about our FormulaExpress computerized color retrieval system and all the tools it has available to help us select the correct color formula. We also learned more about our lightness, saturation, and hue graphs and how they've got the alternate colors already plotted on there to help us understand color space.